Hi, Ghosty fam. Welcome to the Activity Continues podcast. If you're new here, we are friends and soul sisters who recap episodes of the TV show The Dead Files, and we talk about other creepy shit, as well as TV shows or trivia or kind of whatever's going on in our life. One never knows where we are going to go. I'm Megan.
And this is Amy. Thanks for joining us again. Today we have a special treat for you. We are talking with Annie, who is a client from the most recent episode of The Dead Files called Sudden Fear. Also, please say hello to Amy P, or AP, our newest team member. She's keeping us in check with facts and stuff like that. Hi, Amy.
Hello, and just a spoiler alert, there will be spoilers about the episode of The Dead Files. So if you want to go back and watch it first, then come here. We understand, and you have dozens of other episodes to go and check out from our archive.
I wanted to mention we have a new patron, so we want to welcome Teresa. She's our new patron over on Patreon.
Woo, woo, woo.
And yes, and also she lives near the Villisca Axe Murder House, and she took a picture of it once and saw a ghost in it, in the picture. So she sent me the picture. I haven't looked at it on my computer yet. I just looked at it on my phone, and I couldn't get it to embiggen enough to really see it. So
Holy
I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to post it on Patreon.
Did you just make up a word? Embiggen enough?
It. She sure did.
I don't know. Did I make that up? I've been saying it all my life, but
I don't know that I've ever heard it.
Most people would say enlargen.
Enlarge.
But I feel like we're going to go from henceforth it shall be embiggen.
Embiggen.
I decree it so.
That's what I've always called it. But yeah, I tried to do that and I couldn't get it to do anything. So, all right.
That's crazy.
So it's Wesley's birthday. He's my youngest dog. He's the great grandson of Briggs, my heart and soul, who left me 4 weeks ago today. And this morning I let Wesley sleep in the room all night because it's his birthday and I do those special things. And this morning he was playing with a toy, and then all of a sudden he dropped the toy out of his mouth, sat up and looked, and I have the box of Briggs's cremains behind me in my room on a shelf in my room. And he looked, and then he went over and put his nose right on the box and on the collar. It has been there for 3 weeks since I got the remains back. He's seen it. He sniffed the collar before, but he didn't even try to grab the zebra or the puppy. Those are Briggs's toys that I tried not to let the others play with. And yeah, it was just, to me, it was like the sign from Briggs that things are still good, things are okay.
Aww.
And that Wesley is, really that piece to help me.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, love that.
Bizarre.
How are you?
Good.
Oh my God, I love your pink seat covers in the back.
Yeah.
I love it.
I said, let me get in my truck and go down here to the little store and just sit because I already know what's going to happen. My 11-year-old is going to come in saying, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I'm like,
These two just noticed me yelling at my dog for chewing on a bone. She always wants to come sit behind me while I'm recording, and then she wants to sit there and chew her bone. Wow.
Exactly. It never fails.
Yeah. So I
and
had to
even
take her
if
bone
he
away.
hasn't talked to you all day, it'll be once you start recording. He'll do everything.
Yep.
Yeah. My husband's the same, and I feel like husbands and kids, they're kind of similar.
Yes, very much so. I always say I don't have 2 kids. I have 3 because I'm married to one.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. All right. Well, you don't know us, but I'm Amy, and Megan is right where
I'm Megan.
And then other is also Amy.
Hi.
Hi.
There's lots of Amy's.
Yeah, so we call Amy because I was here first. We call her AP.
I'm usually good with hey you as well, but this works a little easier.
Yeah.
I fully understand.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us today. We really, really appreciate it. And we've been seeing some of your posts in the Facebook group, and you had an experience. Holy cow.
Oh, gosh. And that didn't even touch, the bottom of the barrel on things that we went through.
I'm sure.
My mother-in-law, she's 74. She lives with us. She has what they call Usher syndrome. It's caused from retinitis pigmentosa. She started losing her eyesight at the age of 30, and then to follow was her hearing as well. And there's no surgery or anything that can fix it. So what she's seeing, I'm like, she's blind. So what she's seeing is real. And, because I was a skeptic, I'm like, y'all are crazy, whatever. Yeah. And then next thing I know, my 11-year-old is screaming on the phone to me while I'm at work, Mom, Grandma drank bleach. And I said, do what? And she goes, yes, she drank it. And then she hollered at whatever it is that she's seeing, screaming at it, see what you made me do.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I said, son, you need to hang up the phone and I need you to call 911 now. I am on my way. And I was 30 minutes out because that's where I worked at. And so I made it there within 15 minutes.
Oh, that is, I'm sure.
I called the sheriff's department. I'm like, listen, I'm coming in hot. Y'all just ignore me, mind your business, just turn your head, okay? Because
and I'm not stopping. You can turn on all the lights you want.
That's right. That's right. And come to find out, Imogene is the one that made her drink the bleach.
Oh my God.
Because Imogene couldn't get to my son because of my mother-in-law. She was the one putting the protective powers over top of her.
Right. That's what Amy said. So she was trying to get your mom to die so that the protection was gone.
Correct.
Your mother-in-law. I apologize. Your mother-in-law.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
And I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
That's insane.
Yes. Yes.
And your poor son to witness that. And your mother-in-law and the damage that probably did to her body.
Oh yeah.
Bless her.
And I was like, this is just crazy, and it just, like I said, in the group, it started out as little things. Like, I run a business and everything in my craft room is exactly where it needs to be. Because so I can walk up to it, I can grab it out when I need it. And it started out as I pulled out a thing of sticker paper and I set it on my chair. I went out to get to fix me a drink to go back into my craft room. I come in and the sticker paper is gone. And I'm like, what is going on? And my boys, I come out and I looked at my boys. I said, y'all quit playing with me now.
Right.
Give me back my sticker paper because I know y'all are playing with me. And they're like, but we don't go in there, Mom. We're not supposed to be in there. And I was like, since when do y'all ever follow rules and directions? Come on. Let's keep it real here, guys.
Yeah. How old were they at the time? Because I know you said your oldest, I believe you said, was 22.
Yes. So I think Tristan may have been 9.
Okay.
And Logan would have been about 19.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's 10 years. I needed to have my head checked after, 10 years difference between my two kids. So, anyway, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Y'all just keep on playing your game. So I got mad. I went outside and I looked at my husband. I said, they are playing with me. And he's like, and he's always losing stuff. My husband is. I mean, that's typical men, but.
Right.
And I'm like, but Harry, I'm telling you right now, it was in my chair. I set it there. Well, maybe you said it. No, I'm telling you, this is where I put it. And I walked back in there, and there it is sitting in the chair. After I had torn apart my room looking for it, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, that's happened to Amy, I know, before. Amy L. She's lost things, and I've lost things, too.
Yeah.
I look in the same place 500 times, and then I come back, and there it is. It's like taunting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So we blame it on house brownies, but obviously that was not you.
And the other funny part is so my mother-in-law, like I said, she's been having all these health issues, and I'm chalking it up to this entity. She ended up with COVID pneumonia last year in January.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
So, and I'm like, oh my gosh, when they told me it was COVID pneumonia, I'm like, that's a death sentence for the elderly, and
especially with her pre-existing condition.
Exactly.
How scary.
And she has diabetes and she's got all this other stuff, and I'm like, when I left her at that hospital, I cried. And I looked at my husband and I'm like, Harry, I said, you really need to sit down and pray about this. I said, because this is not good. And so they looked at me in the hospital and they said, she's also had a heart attack. Now, mind you, my father had just passed away in November of heart issues.
Oh, no.
God.
He too lived on that property next door to us in the other house.
I was just going to ask if he lived with you, because from what we've seen in all these episodes, is that heart issues and heart attacks are so common from paranormal and spirits.
He was fine at the beginning of November, and then by November 30th, he was dead.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry for your loss.
So I had not only lost my father, but then my mother-in-law, she's had a heart attack. And I'm like, and I whipped my head around so fast when she said she had a heart attack. And I was like, when? And she goes, just a little while ago. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm just mind blown. She's never had heart problems.
Right.
And so, we get her in the hospital. She stays there, God, for over a month,
Oh my God.
And so at that point, we're like, well, we need to rip out the bathtub shower combo, and we need to put a walk-in shower for her. So it would make it easily accessible for her.
Sure.
So we ripped all that out. I kid you not, as God is my witness. I was raised Catholic. My grandmother's sister was my sponsor when I made my what is it that you do?
Confirmation.
Yes, your confirmation. So she was my sponsor. And she gave me this rosary, and it was a wooden beaded rosary, and it was in a little plastic case, and it smelled like rose. So I had that in my dresser. When we pulled out that bathtub, that rosary was up underneath that bathtub.
No.
What?
Yes.
You shut your mouth.
I am dead serious.
What?
I don't know how it got there, but it was literally still in the plastic container that it came in. No bite marks, no chew marks, but how did it get from my dresser up under that tub?
I don't know what's worse. I don't know what would be worse, if it was in, like, the fact that it was in it, or if it would have been out.
Yeah.
Either one is gross. I don't like either one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
That,
so and
that,
it's
crap
like,
your
that one
pants?
feels like someone's trying to get your attention.
yeah, and I was like, what is going on? My husband and I looked at each other and I was like, this is not good. I'm sorry, but this is not good. And
there would have been a Megan-shaped hole in the wall.
Yeah. And I looked at him and I was like, well, let me take it down to the Catholic Church. I'm going to take it down there. I'm going to have it blessed,
Smart.
Well, I went down there. I got it blessed. I got some holy water. While I was in there, you should have seen me getting a little jug. I'm like dipping it in there. I'm like, I need a lot of this, y'all. Y'all don't even begin to understand.
It's like one of those like Culligan water things, and you're just dipping it in.
I was like, listen, can I just get a transfer pump for this stuff and just pump it out to the house? Because y'all just have no idea.
We got stuff going on. I'm going to need just a full hose of this.
I even took out my baptismal candle, okay? And I started burning that joker in the house. I'm like, something's got to give, because I can't do this no more.
Yeah.
And my husband, bless his heart, he had gotten to the point where we were consistently arguing, and I told him, I said, you better get out my face before I put my hands on you. I said, because you finna die today. And I felt bad for him, because he's having to deal with my crazy, and I'm having to deal with his crazy. And everything. And it would wake him up. It got to where it got physical. Like, it would wake him up. It would grab him by his ankle.
That's what you said in the show.
It would reach up his leg, like, towards his privates. It would come up. Yeah.
No.
Ghosts are nasty.
Yeah.
They're so mean.
And
never asking for consent.
And it's just like Amy had said, sitting at the table, she says, if they don't show themselves to me, I don't know that they're there.
Right.
She said, so if they go into hiding when I'm there, which a lot of them do, she said, I can't tell you that they're there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, come to find out, whenever we had the paranormal team come in, it's called a succubus.
Oh.
Oh, sure.
We put the REM pod. My husband was laying on the bed, and we put the REM pod in between his legs, just sitting there. And that sucker was lighting up every chance it got. And I was like, okay, well, then it went quiet. And I was like, okay. So my friend, she's like, Annie, get up on the bed with him, So I got up in the bed with him, and I was just, making fun. And I wrapped my arm around him, and I said, I got to protect my man. Like that thing lit up just as quick as it could. And I could tell it was angry. It was very, very angry. And I was like, I said, well, honey, you got a girlfriend, apparently.
So when Amy did her walk, did she see that at all?
She did not. She did not.
Okay.
Now, she did see, okay, so let's go to the little old lady that she saw on the couch. Yep. Okay. So because she didn't cover, she did cover it in the ending. It just got cut out.
Got cut, yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and
that was one of my questions.
Yes. When he slid that photo in front of Amy, Amy's mouth dropped. And she goes, oh. And she looked over at Steve. And she goes, that explains it. And she went to writing down in her notes, And I just looked at Amy, and I'm like, my heart is in my throat at this point.
Of course.
And, my heart got up in my throat as we walked around the table, and she looked at my husband, and she's like, oh, no. And she started flipping through her notes.
That post.
She started flipping. She had a whole tablet full of notes, and she just kept on flipping, and she found it, and she started writing.
Yeah.
And now Amy, it's like Steve said, Amy is scatterbrained because she's got a lot going on in her mind.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So he said, you've got to keep her on task, because if you don't, she'll go 30 miles down the road, and then you've got to go back down there, and you've got to tow her back.
That's like all of us. That's partially why we're friends.
And I was laughing, and Steve, he's a hoot. But anyway, so she looks at the picture of my mother-in-law, and she goes, that explains it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, so I saw a little old lady with real fine white hair, and my mother-in-law is actually losing her hair. She goes, she's oblivious. She doesn't even know that she's dead. And she looked at the picture, and she goes, she points at my mother-in-law. She goes, is she alive or dead? And does she have heart problems? Was it heart issues?
No.
And I was like, yes, ma'am. She goes, okay. I said, she had a heart attack back in January, and this was last year. And she goes, that explains why she is so oblivious, this spirit. She said, so what has happened is, when she had her heart attack, a piece of her died that day. And it's a piece of her fragmented soul. So
what?
This spirit does not know that it's dead. It's just there.
But it's part of your mother-in-law?
Yes, it is part of my mother-in-law.
Wow.
And so she said that if she doesn't like what you're watching, she'll change the channel. And that's happened. If she doesn't want the light on, she'll turn the light off. And she has made that light flicker I don't know how many times. And then in the middle of the night, it woke my son up because the tablet, the screen was up where it could, light up the room.
Yep.
And the tablet lit up, and he popped his eyes open and looked at it. He watched the screen open because it was her old tablet. Watched the screen open, and then it went to Netflix.
Oh my God.
Let's just put it to you like this. This kid come running in our room, okay?
Yeah,
He's
I'm
like,
sure.
nope. And I turned around and I was like, what is wrong with you? It's like 3:00 in the morning. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Is this how you approach people when they're asleep? I mean, come on, man, get it together. And
So how long were you guys afraid right away? Did the fear kind of build, or like what was the initial reaction? And
At first, I was like, okay, the kids are playing, blah, 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 and then once it started to get physical, and my husband and I started arguing so much,
yeah.
it got to where I was like, all right, now I'm starting to fear for my family's safety at this point. Especially when my dad dies, my mother-in-law has a heart attack, and then my mother-in-law drank bleach before my dad died, and I'm like, this is just insane, and my poor husband, he's like, I need you to do something about it. And I'm like, Harry, I can't fix it. I don't know what's here. I don't know
what are
how.
you supposed to do?
Exactly. And I mean, and it's like I told Steve, I'm going to fight for what's mine, especially when I'm the one that paid money for that place. Okay. No, that's my blood, sweat, and tears. That's my husband's blood. That's a lifetime. That's the past 12 years of,
It's your home.
Exactly. And I told him, I said, I am not going to let something run me off from my home. And it was at that point where my husband was like, okay, well, we need to either do something or I have to leave. I can't do this anymore. He wasn't sleeping for months.
Shoot.
Oh,
bless him.
Yes.
So bad for you.
Yes. And then my
it's
son.
a form of torture.
Yes. My son would wake up with bruises all over his legs. And I'm like, I'd look at him and I'd say, Trisha, where did you get that bruise from? And he's like, I don't know. And he would not sleep. He still won't sleep in that room. And we've had to try and tell him, listen, it's gone, Your daddy's not being affected by it anymore. It's gone. And he's like, yeah, but I still feel better on the couch. So I'm like, okay, as long as you're not in my room, we're good.
Yeah.
So, it was a nightmare. It was pure hell. And it's like, I told them, I'm at my wit's end. I'm like barely holding it together. And I was every day I would just sit and I would just cry, So it just,
and that's when you decided to reach out to the Dead Files?
Well, let me tell you what made me reach out to the Dead Files. So with all this mess going on, my husband went out to the couch one night and he's laying out there because he eats a bowl of cereal every night, yada, yada. And
oh my God, smart. I love cereal.
Oh, me too. Oh my gosh. The Fruity Pebbles with the little marshmallows is fabulous.
Nice.
So he's out there watching TV because obviously he can't sleep. And then, and I've got the video on my Facebook. So, I mean, if y'all ever wanted to look at it, you could. I think it's public. So my phone kept dinging that there was motion in the living room because we've got house cameras. And I'm like, okay, it's just picking up either the motion from the TV flickering the light or my husband, or a cat because I've got several. And so all of a sudden it just kept ding, 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 ding on my phone. And I'm like, what is going on here? It's never done this before.
Yeah.
So I open it up and I just instantly start recording. Whenever I do the playback, I instantly start recording from the moment my cat jumps up on my little coffee table in front of my couch, and you see all these orbs just flying through the air. And then one in the dining room, it literally come through, stopped midair, and made a bank towards my husband on the couch.
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yes. And
so it was like targeting him.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
And then another reason that I called them, that was one thing. And then the other thing was, it said I had motion at like 2:15 in the morning on the camera. And this is when I started really watching the camera. And I watched the video and there was nothing. And I'm like, oh, it was just a fluke. Well, let me go. Every time that it senses any kind of motion, it automatically snaps a picture. Then it starts recording. So I went to the pictures. It looked like a lit up spine over top of my fish tank. It looked like something was trying to manifest itself.
Oh my God.
Do you have that picture?
I do.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Could you send that if you're okay with sending
email it to us if you
want. Yeah, I can do that.
If you're okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It
Oh,
is
wow.
wild. And I mean, I would send it to you now, but I don't know if it's like going to cut this off or whatever.
That's
yeah,
okay.
no, that's fine. We'll look at it later.
So, but that's
It's okay. I've been the one having all the problems.
That's really what, set me off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we really need some help. So I contacted them. And I want to say probably a month later, Miss Janelle, she's one of the executive producers, she called me and she's like, hey, we have 13 open spots, and I'm wondering if you're still needing our help. And I was like, yeah. This thing ain't gone away on its own.
Yeah.
And so,
Like, I'm free tomorrow.
Yeah,
Are you free
exactly.
tomorrow? When can we make this happen?
And that was in 2020. When was that? 2020.
Okay.
I think it was. No, it was actually, I'm sorry. It was in the beginning of 2021 when that happened. But then, with COVID still going or whatever, they kind of had to keep on pushing back. And it took, a little over a year for them to come.
Wow.
And at that point, it was just beyond, like, whew, it was wild. And so, it was just when they finally said, okay, I know that it's been a long time coming and we are so sorry, but this, this is what's going to happen. This is when they're coming, blah, blah, blah. And then it just happened so fast. And it was just, by the time it was done, I looked over at my husband and I'm like, wow, it took longer to get here, but it didn't take us long to do what we needed to do, and find out answers. So,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that Amy does her walk long before Steve shows up?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Because I know sometimes on the show they show Amy walking around, and then they say 19 hours earlier, and they show Steve talking to the family.
Right.
But it was the opposite way for you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that on ours it said 14 hours earlier. Now, if he was doing his research, you see what I'm saying before that, then I have no idea. However,
he probably does.
Right. And Amy,
dig into the archives.
And Amy, being she came in, like I said, she came in on a Wednesday night. We had to be out of the house by 4:30 p.m. They come into the house because she is so, I don't know if she is a germaphobe or something, but she had them come in and spray, the house and everything like that for like COVID and all that, the cleaner.
She's very COVID scared.
Yes, very much
she
so.
is. Yep.
And so they came in, they did all of that and everything and I'm like, y'all better not hit my fish tank with it. And they're like, it's not going to hurt them, So they had to come in and do all of that, get everything set up, and they popped these, them little glow sticks.
Yep.
They put those around like furniture so that Amy doesn't trip because she's so focused on everything going on, and my son, he's got like 3 of them in the dang freezer. And I'm like, why are you keeping those? He said, because they were from the TV show, Mom. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just have them
I would
silent?
save them too.
I would too. Yeah.
I would have saved them.
Like, get them out of my freezer, dude. And so, and then she does her walk. I think they said that she walked until either 5 or 6 a.m.
Wow.
Hold on.
That's a long walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so, she turned around and she said, I know that whenever I left the hotel room, because I had to go to work the next morning, I left the hotel room, I want to say about 5:30-ish, 6-ish, somewhere around in there, but I had to go get my dog from my daughter-in-law and everything. She was right down the road
did you
from
have
the
to get
hotel.
rid of did you have to put your cat somewhere too?
Everything.
Yeah.
The only animal I did not move, besides my fish, obviously, was was my rabbit. My son has a rabbit, and he's like, well, we need them all out, so if y'all didn't see the big camper sitting out there. We had the AC running in there, and all my cats were actually in the camper.
Oh.
Yes. So, and then my bulldog, I took him, down the road, and then my ducks, we put them over at the pond so that they were out of the way. And yeah, it
You
was
have a little menagerie.
I do.
going
I
on.
do. I actually just
Little
got
zoo.
chickens too. So,
Exciting.
because eggs are ridiculous, y'all.
Oh, I know. I get them. I have 2 of my best friends have chickens, and one of them lives so close to me. I get 2 dozen chickens. I drive up there, and 2 dozen eggs, not 2 dozen chickens. 2 dozen eggs.
Yep.
So
Nice.
like these are perfect.
I went and I got my dog, and I come back to the house because I had to drop him off, and then I had to go to work. But whenever I got there and everything, you could smell the coffee, and everything like that in the house, and I mean, it was just, just like nobody had ever been there. And I had to remove everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. American flag had to come down. I had some decals that said, pray, hope, love, or something like that on the window of the barn door to my bathroom. And he's like, Jeremy's like, that either needs to go or I'll have to cover it up. And I was like, but if we, we can cover one side, and he goes, no. If Amy sees it, Amy's going to read it because Amy is nosy.
I mean, same. So
I love it.
I started laughing. I was like, really? And he goes, oh, yeah, she's going to read it. And she does not want anything that's going to, distract her or take away the validity of her walk. He said that she's a stickler on that. That's how she wants it. And I'm like, well, I don't blame her,
Right.
And so that, with her walking first, really made me a believer, a firmer believer in it, because, Steve didn't get all this information from us.
Right.
So, and they go on very limited information. Yep. So,
has anybody in your family had any experiences before this, or was this kind of the kickoff for everybody?
well, my husband has had, things happen when he was younger, and I myself, and don't mind me if I get a little, upset, but, so my middle child, he passed away when he was 2.5 months old.
So sorry.
And I found him. So whenever I said at the end, I've had so much loss, it's because of my dad and my kid.
Yeah.
So
That's really tough.
when the day that he died, the day that I found him, I had already laid him down for his nap. And I was on the phone with my ex-husband, and I'll never forget it, 11:07 p.m. or a.m., excuse me. I was on the phone with him, and he was asking me, how things were going, yada, yada, yada. And then we hung up. As soon as I hung up, there was only me, my oldest son, he was 2 at the time, and then my baby, my infant. We are the only ones in this house. Someone walked up behind me. I could feel their breath on my ear.
Jeez.
And it whispered, go check on the baby.
Oh,
holy shit.
Wow. Holy shit.
And I took off down that hallway.
Yeah.
And
of course you did.
I went down there and I, opened up the door and I looked, and he wasn't laying on his back how I had laid him. He was laying on his stomach on top of his blanket.
Oh, no.
And I picked him up, and up came the blanket with him. And I pulled it away from him, and I immediately started CPR on him. Waiting on an ambulance for 45 minutes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. They were going the wrong direction.
Oh.
Jesus.
Yep.
Jeez.
Oh, my God.
It's been a very long 21 years.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that never goes away.
Yeah.
Ever.
And whenever
You just
I
learn to live with
told
it.
because, anytime a child dies at home, they have to do their investigation, yada, yada. Anytime anybody dies at home, they do an investigation. And the officer looked at me like I was crazy when I told him. I said, this is what happened, and I believe it was, a spirit telling me, something's not right. Who it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still say that happened, because I remember feeling it, and I remember turning like this, and nobody's there. So.
Well, Amy says we all have spirit guides. So
Yeah,
maybe it was one of your spirit guides.
Yep. And it could have been. And
or one of his spirit guides.
And I remember when I was a kid, we lived in a house that was built back in the 1800s. And I'm from upstate New York, and they've got them big 2-story, houses and stuff like that, and that's what we lived in. And I remember looking in the closet of our bedroom, and I would say to my mother's daughter, I would say, do you see that in there? And she would look at me and say, oh, he's not mean, he's nice.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's good at least.
And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, what? How do you know this?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've definitely had our experiences, and, I would typically be like, I would find a way to debunk it, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm just like, whew,
Right.
And I guess I'm not, so, it was very hard to deal with whenever it come to this, because I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to say, okay, people think you're crazy when they don't believe in it. So.
Oh, Even saying
I'm
it,
married to one of
crazy.
those.
Yeah, Skeptic Greg, we call him.
Yeah, my husband doesn't believe in any of it.
Yep.
And the crazy thing is, it's happened to him.
Yeah.
Like, he's experienced it.
Yep. And then they try to chalk it off to something else, and I'm like, okay.
That was my imagination.
Yeah. No, Greg, it wasn't. You're crazy. You're silly. Yeah, we call him Skeptic Greg on the podcast because he is.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I will say your episode of the Dead Files is the only one he's ever watched.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I made him watch it with me.
That's awesome.
I made him watch it with me.
That is awesome.
It was a good one. It was a good one.
It was a good one.
Yeah,
I had
it
a
was
few
like,
jaw-dropping moments.
I turned around and I looked at Harry and I was like, I said, it's totally different. I mean, we knew the outcome, and then some. I said, but it's really neat to see how they put it all into play, all together and everything like that. And so it was really, really cool. And we have it recorded, on the DVR. And I turned around and I looked at my kids. I said, and if you touch that recording. Oh, gosh.
Was there a part of the, sorry, Amy. Was there a part of the reveal that they cut that you were kind of surprised that they cut?
That's what I was going to ask anyway.
Oh my God, we're so connected.
Listen, I am very, very shocked that they cut this, and I even messaged the producer. I'm like, listen, y'all really let me down, okay? So when Steve was sitting there talking about Imogene, he was, talking about her and this, that, and the other, and he looked at us and he says, now, she went through all of this. He said, now, if you back up 15 years prior, and you can just bleep this out. If you back
we don't bleep anything.
Okay. So when you back up 15 years prior, what happens is she was followed home, almost home, by a gentleman, and she was shot. He said 5 times. She was 8 months pregnant, and the baby and her survived, and she named the baby Lucky. When I tell y'all, Amy's head snapped around so fast, I thought it was fixing to spin off of her body. She looked at Steve, and she goes, what the fuck? And
That sounds right.
I grabbed my mouth. I was like, you, what? I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And he
Wow.
goes, no. And I looked at her and I looked at Amy. I was like, well, no wonder she's so pissed off. You know, I'd be mad too if I had survived a 5 gunshot wounds while I was pregnant 15 years prior, just to get murdered 15 years later. I'd be pretty pissed off, and I'd take it out on everybody.
Right.
But I did. I told him, I said, I'm a little disappointed in you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, they did bring that up. I know that when Steve met with the reporter, she did talk about that.
Yes, she did.
But that's crazy.
Yeah.
Annie, don't you also have another story of something Amy said about your husband?
Oh, yeah. That was ooh. When we walked in. Okay, so when Amy was there, you had to wear a mask other than when you were sitting at that reveal table or if you were in a room away from her. So we wore the masks in. So we had masks on now, so she didn't see his full face. All she could see was his eyes and his hair. When we were walking around that table, that lady looked dead at she zeroed in on him. And she goes, oh, no. And she went to flipping through them pages. And I was like, the hell is this lady doing? And then she found it and she started writing. And she looked at my husband after the cameras were cut and we had our questions, about where to find these people, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. She looked dead at my husband and she goes, and you. My husband looked at her. Like, oh Lord. I'm in trouble. I was like,
I would
he's
too.
finna get called out.
He's like, I don't even know what I did.
I got excited for a minute, And she says, I saw your lifeless body laying in between that pool and that camper over there. And it was an accident. She said, and if you run chainsaws at night, you better stop.
Holy shit.
And when I tell you his whole face dropped,
I bet.
My heart was in my throat and my whole face just went white.
Wow.
Steve looked at me and says, are you okay? I said, would you be okay? And he's like,
wow.
No. I said, okay then.
And I'm not.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like,
wow.
Whoa. And so
I assume he does not use chainsaws at night anymore.
He does not. And then one night, and this is no lie, y'all. So, I got cats, and cats are jerks. And
yes, they are.
You're not lying.
I have one that's not. I don't know what happened when he was born, but there's nobody home upstairs. Have you seen that commercial where it says, "Hi, my name is this. Everybody calls me the same name," right? And I looked over at my son, and I'm like, "Hey, Tristan," I said, "His name is Jim, but everybody calls him Jim." Like that. And he's like, shut up. So he got stuck up in the tree, not once but twice. And we had to cut him down twice.
Yep.
So the second time we had to cut the tree down, my husband's like, you're coming out there with me. He says, because it is pitch black out there and I am not fixing to die today. I said, all right. I said, I'll come out there with you. And as he's cutting the tree, the cat is starting to climb down as it's tipping, And I was like, stop cutting. And he can't hear me. And I'm like, stop cutting it. I'm like, I am a really loud person. And if you can't hear me, you got problems, dude. And he just kept on cutting and the tree come down. And then I couldn't find the cat. And I'm like, what the heck? The cat decided that he was going to play a game and he was going to dart straight to the house. Yeah, my heart.
Great.
Y'all just have no idea what these things put me through.
Why do you think I have gray hair? I have a husband, a toddler, and 2 cats.
Oh, God.
That's what it's from.
Listen, I miss my kids being little, but I don't miss not getting any sleep. That's the one thing I've told them. I was like, you know what? I do not miss y'all being that tiny. But I do miss it when y'all didn't talk back. But here we are.
There you go.
My toddler doesn't talk much, and he still talks back. I just don't know what he's saying. He scolds us, and yeah.
Funny.
But yeah,
So
yeah, that was wild. That was really, really wild when it come to that.
Yeah,
And I was like,
that's
wow,
scary. That just makes you believe even more because it's like she sees these things that she cannot. There's no
exactly.
way she could know.
Exactly. And it's like I looked
No
at her
way.
and I'm like, I'm like, is my dad there? Because, we could ask these questions and everything.
Right.
And she looked at me and she goes, no. She said, but I can tell you this much. She said, he's okay.
Oh.
Good.
So
That's
I was
so
like,
nice to hear.
I was like, good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
But I sat there at that table whenever they pulled out the picture, the drawing of what she's doing to my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Well, that was a scary picture.
Yeah.
That was so scary.
And I looked at that picture and I was fixated on it.
Yeah, of course
To the
you
point
were.
to where I literally went silent.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve looked at me and he says, Annie, and he snapped his fingers because, like I said, I had just dissociated and I had literally just fixated on it. And he flipped over the picture, and when he flipped over the picture is when I kind of snapped out of it. And he said, what is going through your mind right now? And I said, if I could see her right now, I would kick her ass.
Yep, of course you would. She's going after your babies.
And I said, for effing with my kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned around and he goes, but we're gonna see, what Amy has to say, on how to fix this. And I looked at her and I said, we tell our kids their whole life that the boogeyman doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I said, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I want to burn her.
Right.
And that's when Amy said, who she is in death, though, is not who she was in life. And I said, and I understand that. I said, and I'm trying to be understanding of her situation. I said, however, she was a mother.
Right.
I said, and kids, as far as I'm concerned, are off limits, especially
100%.
mine.
Right.
I said, she ain't getting mine.
Yeah, and Steve has said multiple times, like, if there's kids involved, a lot of times that's what makes him want to do a case, is if they're, like, going after the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Steve,
they're babies.
let me tell y'all, Steve will have y'all in stitches, okay?
He swears a lot, right?
He does, but it is
Oh, I
so
love
funny
it.
because, he was fitting in with all of us. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, we swear like sailors, too. It's
Oh,
fine.
my God, yeah.
and I turned around and he kept on calling the producers. He'd be like, no, I call them producers. Like they're douchebags. And I looked at him and I was like, Steve, come on, man. And he looked at me and goes, well, they are. He said, let me tell you. So they told him, well, Steve, we're going to have you come out the front door and we're going to, get a clip of you with the drone, coming out the front door to talk to Harry. He says, what?
A
So
drone.
He said, what? So
I was wondering how they got that.
it's a drone.
I was like, oh my God, do they have a budget for a helicopter?
No.
Because I'm not
It's
dumb,
a
and that's
whole
where my freaking
drone, and
mind
it's
went.
so awesome.
They love you, Megan.
I told them
Cool.
I wanted to fly it, so they wouldn't let me. So
Oh,
Rude.
they said, so we're going to have you and Harry walk out the front door together. We're going to, do the shot with the drone and blah, blah, blah. Steve said, what? So you can do this big entrance and then not use it? He said, let me tell y'all what they done to me. He said, they had me on a friggin' airboat. He said, for 4.5 friggin' hours. He said, 4.5 hours I was out there sweating my ass off. He said, and they didn't use a single damn shot of it. Guess what, Steve? Hate to break it to you, but they didn't use that shot either. I'm just saying.
They probably do it just to fuck with
I think they
They probably
do.
do.
Poor
They
Steve.
probably have meetings and they're like, well, how far can we push Steve?
Exactly.
What can we make him do?
Exactly. But when he told me
They're
he
like,
was
Steve,
on a
get
damn
in this
airboat,
airboat.
and he said, he's like, it was like 98 degrees outside. And they
my
got me on this
God.
friggin' airboat. I was like, well, Steve, why the hell didn't you just jump in the damn water? He said, He said, I'm not fighting no
Gators.
dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
funny.
I'd rather be hot than eaten by a gator. I'm good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm good.
But yeah,
no thanks.
he is. He's a trip. He was just awesome to deal with all the way around.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we learned he's kind of short, right?
He is. He is. I don't know if y'all saw the picture that I had uploaded in the group of him and I.
Oh, I don't think I did. No.
Yeah, I'm 5'7", 5'7.5" on a good day when I don't slouch. And him and I are like, he's like, I don't know, probably just a couple inches shorter than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And my mom is 5'2", so she was there as well, and her interview didn't make it because there were so many people, you know. So, and of course my oldest boy's, his didn't make it, but you know,
I wonder.
I had written that down, like, well, did the oldest one have any issues, or was he just like, peace out, see you later, leave you with all this stuff?
and he had told Steve that he had heard the grunting and growling out there in the woods. So, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what's funny is one night, y'all, I can't make this up. One night, my husband, okay, so I hear my husband scream, okay, outside is what I thought. I hear him holler, get out of here. And then, hold on, that ain't even half of it. Followed by a gunshot, okay? This is at 3:00 in the morning, all right?
Oh, my God.
I'm like, I literally levitate out of the bed.
Right.
I take off running out of the bedroom, out the front door, because I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I'm ready to fight whatever fight this is. I didn't even grab my pistol, you know? I'm like, out the door.
Oh, my God.
And I get out the door, I get halfway down the steps, and I realize, Annie, you had to unlock that door to go out, so he's not outside. Where in the hell is he? So I come running back in the house. I run into the bedroom light is on. I didn't turn it on. He did. And I'm like, Harry. And I hear him out of the bathroom. Yeah. I said, the hell are you doing? He said, something's trying to get the ducks. I said, so you're just popping off shots out the friggin' bathroom window? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, at 3:00 in the morning, what is wrong?
He's
Oh,
just
the
sitting there
next
in the
door
window.
discussion on that one should have been good.
And he looked at me and he goes, but something was trying to get the ducks. I said, Harry, take your stupid ass back to sleep because I'm done with you for the night. Jesus. Trying to give me a damn heart attack. I'm like, I cannot make this up. And I'm like, what in the hell?
No, you can't.
But the
Oh my
kicker
God,
on
that's
that
funny.
was you could see the feet prints of an animal on the ground around the duck
Wow.
cage.
Yeah.
So,
Do you recognize the prints?
they were all jumbled in the mud. You couldn't really tell. It
okay.
almost looked like a
Make 'em,
dog.
you could just...
Or something, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And he's like, but it took off through the woods so fast, you know, it was knocking stuff over and everything. And that will tell you that that's the elemental right there. I looked at it, I said, do you realize? And I told him, I said, the hell are you going to do? Shoot it and kill it again? I mean, it's already dead, Harry.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Good point. Good point.
Just wild.
No, with your son, did when he said he heard the growling and grunting and stuff, did Steve ask him if it was just the dogs? Because we noticed there's always two things that Steve says. It's something like, "Oh, are you sure it wasn't the dogs?" And were you boozing?
Yeah.
Were you
With your
boozing?
husband?
He did.
Yeah, Harry caught him and was like, "I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything." So Steve couldn't
I
ask
am
that
not
question.
going to lie, but my whole house erupted in laughter when my husband said, all right, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't drink and I don't do drugs. I looked at Harry. I said, you've got to be kidding me.
Liar!
He said, I figured I'd cut him off right there. I was like,
Yeah.
but Harry, come on, man. Jesus.
Let's not lie to Steve.
And I was like,
I love
you
it.
have got this man right here. And I mean, everybody was laughing. And then we paused the TV, and it was just so funny because Harry's sitting at the table, and I'll send you the picture of that too. And when we paused the TV, he looked like he was stoned out of his mind. And
Nice.
I turned around and my friend, one of my friends that was there, she's like, well, that determined that was a lie. I was like, well, I do have to say, Harry does not do drugs, and he hasn't had a mixed drink in a very long time, so he's not just imagining this stuff. So
He's not boozing,
exactly,
Steve.
exactly. So that was
you
just
boozing?
everything.
No.
That was just
That's
awesome.
so funny.
Yeah.
Great. Oh.
Those go on the
So
bingo
is there anything
scorecard
else
if you...
that... Sorry. What?
I'm so far delayed.
Oh, yeah, and your voice is really low too.
Really,
it's
yeah.
like I can barely hear you. I wanted to ask, is there anything else that they cut out from the reveal or from anything else that you think would be interesting for us to know?
So my mother-in-law, they only put little bits just because of how she's so hard of hearing and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so my mother-in-law could see in her mirror a woman. And you heard her say a woman on there. But this woman was holding a baby. And
Oh my God.
yes, yep. She said that this
I
woman,
just put that together.
this woman was
Yeah.
holding a baby. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And she said that there was a man, she said, and he had like a dark complexion, and he would taunt her. And he would sit there. She said that she would pick up her Bible and it would laugh at her.
Wow.
That's so scary.
And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm wondering if it has something to do with this elemental projecting itself,
Right.
Oh, sure.
And
Right.
and or
Maybe.
the Native Americans, that were just strung up out there to rot, And it's like
Right.
when Steve told me that when they strung up the chiefs and stuff like that out there in those woods, I was like, no wonder this thing doesn't like us, because we killed its family, that was its family. And no wonder this thing hates us. No wonder this thing, wants us gone and doesn't want us here. And that's because, the white people literally killed its family.
Right. And took its land. And
Exactly. And it's like I told my husband, I said, we as settlers, not us, but our ancestors came in and took this land. This land was never ours to begin with, and it will never be ours.
Right.
I said, so, when Amy said basically to give back to the elemental, because the elemental kept telling her, she said that she asked it, well, what are you? Are you water? Are you, are you wind? Are you, fire? Are you this? And so turn around and, it told her, I'm all of it. I'm a beast.
Yeah.
So she gave us the Palo Santo spray for the water. She gave us the cloves and the, the hawthorn for the land, or earth. And then she said, get you one of those little neck fans to wear while you do this, because that's the wind.
For
And
air.
she said to light sage, and that is your fire. So we would have to go to 6 points on the property, and we did both houses, ours and the next door, because that's my stepmother's house. And so we did both houses. We picked 6 spots, and we did that every single evening at the same exact time for 30 days. And we have had no more problems from it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
So it was just that. Did you get a demonologist and all that other
Now,
stuff that she
for
suggested?
the lady that was in the house,
That was for Imogene.
we have a friend of ours, because Amy said that she was going to send 2 of her people. However, they were so busy and backlogged, and she told us that sitting at the table
Yeah.
from COVID, because when COVID hit in 2020, at the end of 2019 and of 2020, like quite literally, it, backlogged them because they weren't able to go to people's houses and this, that. So they are literally like 2 years behind. And I was like, I got to do something quicker than that. So a friend of mine actually owns an antique mall here in town. And so I went to her and I'm like, hey, Cindy, what can we do about this? And so I showed her a picture of the dresser and she goes, ooh, she could see it because she's also a physical medium and she's also a sensitive. So she goes, ooh, that's not good. And I looked at her, I said, well, what are you seeing? And she blew up the picture. All she did was look at the tiny little picture and she blew it up. And she goes, you see that right there? Yeah. She goes, that's her. She's in that mirror. She's attached to it. And if you go to Cross the Line Paranormal on Facebook and look, they watched it because they're the ones that came to our house, and you'll see some of the stuff that I picked up. Yes.
Okay.
They held the little K2 meter up to Tristan's closet door. There's no electrical over there at all, and that sucker was pinging every time because she likes his room.
Right, because she wants to get him.
And so because
she's a bitch.
She came in, Miss Cindy came in and she brought a friend of hers that's a demonologist. And she's like, I can attempt to bring her back to the person that she was to help her understand, you are also a mother. This is a mother and you are attacking her child. How would you like it if somebody was attacking Lucky? And this, that, and other, and then she just would not pull out of it. So at that point, the demonologist had to step in and say, you got to go. You're done.
So what was that like? I mean, did he have, or I don't know if it was did the demonologist do like a ritual, or did they just kind of talk, or like what did that look like?
They turned around and they said, well, we're going to, do what we can as far as being nice about it at first. But if we need to, it could possibly get ugly, if she will not leave. And so they turned around and they said, well, we're going to just, banish this, get rid of her because we're done. And he literally did his little, sayings that he done and everything, his ritual. And then when I tell you the moment that she was gone, it's like you lifted a whole weight off of that house. I mean, it felt so much freer and clearer, that day.
Lighter.
Yes.
Good. Yep. Awesome.
Good.
That's great. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions? Is there anything else you want to make sure we cover?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, again, Annie, thank you so much.
No problem.
For talking to us. I've enjoyed it. I can't speak to the others, but
oh no, it's been great.
You're a hoot and a half, Annie.
Hoot and a half.
What kind of crafting do you do? I'm just curious.
I do the epoxy tumblers. Yes,
resin?
I do the 3D ones. I also do, just the regular ones. I do sublimation. I do T-shirts. I do, I got so much going on, and I work 45 hours a week, and so I have to stay busy though. That's the thing. That's what happens when you have ADHD. You got to be busy doing something. You might not accomplish much, but you get something done.
I think that's why I have 5. Like I started with beading jewelry, and then I went to clay, and then I went to resin, and then I went to. I'm like, my craft room is just a mess. There's stuff everywhere, but I'm like, that's what happens. I start doing one, and I'm like, that sounds fun. Let me try that.
It's like I'm currently in the process of making a Tri-Wizard cup from Harry Potter. And it actually glows in the dark. So all I have left to do on it is the handles. And I've got to get those, I got to put them on wire so that they have some kind of stability to them. And then the little dragon that sits on the bottom of it. And then I bake that, and then I'm going to epoxy over it, and it's done. It's ready to go.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm excited.
That's so cool.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. This was a
thank
lot
Yeah,
of fun.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks
Yeah.
for dealing with all of my issues that I had on
It's
this
fine.
side.
Trust me,
so
I have
good.
issues on a
Something
daily.
was fighting me. Something was fighting me today with it. So
Oh, wow. Let's hope it's not
Yeah,
ghosty.
exactly.
I think there's just personally, I think there's some energy around. This is I mentioned earlier to you too, but it's the 4 weeks since Briggs died, so I do think that there's something
Yeah.
That's her dog.
messing around with
Annie,
my
by the way.
stuff. Yeah, my dog.
Aw.
He was my heart and soul dog.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
a little dog. She's a little Cheepom, and she'll
Okay.
be 14, and she gets
Oh,
around.
wow.
She gets around better than a puppy. So I take her to the vet,
Little
and
dogs.
he's like, "Well, how old is she
live a long
now?"
way.
And I'm like, "She'll be 14 soon." And he's like, "There's no way. I still don't believe this dog is that old." So yeah.
Love it.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well,
right.
drive home safely.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Hey everyone, this is AP doing a little fact check for you. The National Eye Institute describes Usher syndrome as a rare genetic disease that affects both hearing and vision, sometimes also balance issues. People with this are born with it, there's no cure, and they are often diagnosed in their childhood or teen years. There are also 3 different variation types that were associated in the article I saw from the National Eye Institute. A succubus is a demon or supernatural entity in female form that appears, quote, in dreams to seduce men, often through sexual activity. The male version is an incubus. An elemental is a being that is described in occult and alchemical works from around the time of the European Renaissance. It is often elaborated by Pericles and are associated with the 4 elements of earth, water, air, and fire. This is according to Wikipedia.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a suggestion for which episode of the Dead Files we should cover next, or if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.